So the latest Jujutsu Kaisen episode just dropped today, and Mappa and Geige Akutami once again provide that heat with another banger fight for us to watch and enjoy. Mechamaru is now going toe to toe with the scum of Jujutsu Kaisen that terrorized Yuji and us avid fans of JJK with the first season, and finally we are getting into it with the Shibuya incident arc. An arc that all manga fans have been hyping up for years and anime onlys have been anticipating for a while. These two first episodes coming off Hidden Inventory is the beginning of the end for the JJK we once experienced. Shibuya is heading into a different territory that the story has never seen before, and just like the episode today, it is filled with all that you could want, with the hype, action, and moments of pure depression that makes you want to drop the series. The arc is a special one for sure, and the first episode's intent was building up this next arc with us reconnecting with Yuji and everyone, but also a bit of action with the start of many fights this arc has to offer, with of course Mechamaru facing off against the demon menace himself, Mahito, JJK's primetime antagonist, and the first obstacle we see for Yuji aside from Sukuna of course, in his new journey of becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer. I liked this Mechamaru fight when I first read it in the manga. I thought it was a really cool way to bring us into this next arc and pretty much the perfect prelude to chaos. But after watching that second half of the episode last week when Mahito and Geto pulled up to Mechamaru, I knew this fight was going to be sensational and that I was going to start loving this part of the story. It's so easy to get lost in the mix of things when reading JJK, and especially Shibuya, because there's so many different events that take place and grab your attention. But with this part of the story being adapted now and me getting a chance to see this content again, not just in the manga medium but animated like this, with Mappa killing it with every frame, I can't help but develop a newfound appreciation for it. Mechamaru had a mission and he came prepared with that abundance of cursed energy that at times rivals that of special grades, and this set off for such a cool fight between him and the most villainous cursed spirit we've seen thus far. Mechamaru was in that mech absolutely bodying Mahito, a threat that we know is on smoke. At the start of the fight, Mechamaru's puppets was getting washed by Mahito with no difficulty, but we all knew he had to have something up in that sleeve of his to contend against Mahito, and of course Geto as well if he wins that first matchup. And this is where he proceeds to pull out that giant mech, Ultimate Mechamaru, which honestly turned the tides of the fight beautifully in Mechamaru's favor. That giant mech was actually broken, and even though he was still holding attacks from Mahito, putting his armor in danger, the main advantage he had was escaping idle transfiguration, which we know is one of the most busted curse techniques in JJK. But even with that strong defense, he had insane output with that mecha as well, allowing him to shoot off a year's worth of curse energy with a single blast. A ridiculous feat, blowing up the entire terrain, and such a cool positive to his heavenly restriction that was the catalyst for this power. Mahito was for real getting slapped around and held the nastiest stomp to his face, but as we all know, Mechamaru's reign fell apart completely, and even though he managed to escape Mahito's domain, he eventually fell victim to that fatal blow, which of course led to Mahito taking the W. It was such an insane way to go out when I think about it deeper. He was so close to reaching his goal and escaped one of the strongest domains in the series with a bunch of curse energy left to take on Geto, only to get put down by Mahito after he broke into the mecha. I don't think I'll ever escape that disturbing expression Mahito made after he entered the mech, and even more so with the panel in the manga. It was truly a testament to how much of a menace this guy is, and after seeing this fight, it honestly seemed like Mahito was on a mission to gap every character in JJK for being the most evil creature, and his reign of being a menace will only continue throughout Shibuya, so look forward to that. We got a slight taste of his villainous actions and the atrocities he's about to commit, but at this point it will only continue to get worse, making him easily the most evil character in the series. But at the same time, it also props him up as an antac, not just for characters like Mechamaru who he faced off with, but the main character Yuji as well, which he most definitely will have some kind of interaction with going into the next arc. This fight was so good, man, and the way it portrays more about JJK's power system is really cool as well. The big shift in the fight started with Mahito's domain expansion, which aside from being one of the creepiest things I've witnessed from this anime, goes a little further in showing that this move is the peak of Jujutsu. Mahito just got slammed by Mechamaru with a fatal blow, and that single domain expansion caused Mechamaru to flop on the ground and completely shut down. It definitively shows that this move is the pinnacle of Jujutsu, as he gained the advantage with a single move, and unless you have a more refined domain, it's basically impossible to step to without extenuating circumstances like Yuji in season 1 where he broke in from the outside, which resulted in Nanami being saved. But Mechamaru of course knew he needed a counter to something so broken, and although he doesn't have the skill to cast his own domain, let alone one more refined than Mahito's, he used a technique curated by people from the peak of Jujutsu to counter these monstrous domains they were coming up against. The simple domain, or in other words, a domain for the weak, which ironically is such a powerful counter as he managed to get an attack off on Mahito with this and escape the domain. Actually such a sick move, and that's mainly because of the pose Mechamaru did with the middle finger. Reading that was so gas, and seeing him do it in the anime along with his mech following along was hard, I can't even lie. This fight had some dope back and forths, and it really seemed like Mechamaru was going to take the W for a split second after he hit this counter to move. The animation from start to finish in this fight was just insane and really managed to capture the scale of it all without even having to use CGI for the mecha. We are literally at the beginning of a 60 chapter arc full of fights, and the damn start of it all is already looking out of this world. From hidden inventory and heck even season 1, JJK has had good animation, but again Map wants to keep leveling up and adding more to their stacked arsenal, which always gets me wondering how the peaks of this arc is gonna look like. You could see from this episode that not only was the animation insane, but they were also getting more creative with some of the scenes, like when Mahito was evolving into damn near every animal and when the light rays was chasing him down. The gas is being pushed at full throttle for this adaptation, and the different styles Mappa was cooking in this episode was so cold and clearly had some kind of homage to different series in the mecha genre especially. There's probably some I'm missing, but the obvious ones I could notice is the Evangelion references, that was quite clear, and also the Gurren Lagann style shots with the expressive lines. One of my favorite styles in anime for sure, and it works so well in this scene as the final segment and conclusion of the fight. But yeah, overall the animation and additions Mappa was adding to the original was stellar. The literal only part of the episode that had me with a few question marks was the unclear shots of Mahito through the forest, but apparently that has something to do with Japanese TV laws and will be fixed with a Blu-ray version of the episode, so that isn't a big issue at all. The fight cooked from beginning to end, and just like I said in my last video, the fights are going to be pretty comfortably better than the manga version, which is really cool. I loved how the animation style shifted towards the end of the fight when we got that flashback to Miwa. The line work was super light, along with the colors which completely contrast the entire fight itself, and was something fitting for one of Mechamaru's most cherished memories. Mechamaru as a character was pretty tragic, as his only hope was to be with his classmates, the people most dear to him, without having to use the puppet, and he was so close to actually achieving that dream but messed up and got dropped by Mahito. The conclusion is actually pretty peak for my boy, but at the same time it was really just a case of him biting off more than he could chew with his attempt of getting his body healed by the likes of Mahito. It was pretty much an impossible task from jump, but you gotta respect him staking his life for his hopes to come true. It's not like Mechamaru was weak or unprepared either. He had an insane arsenal with a simple domain and special grade typecast energy, but of course it just wasn't enough. The fight was so tragic towards the end, but overall it was gas as fuck and only really the beginning of this arc and what's next. This fight only took up 2/3 of the episode, and we got to see the characters preparing for the actual Shibuya incident towards the end, and the direction here, just like the rest of the episode, was peak. We got the character interactions, civilians panicking as some got sucked into a subway station, and of course the last frame where the GOAT appears that everyone was looking for, Satoru Gojo. Gojo looks to be going crazy in the next episode, and we got Yuji in that preview as well, so you already know the next episode is going to be gas as well, with it titled as the Shibuya incident. Right after the Mechamaru fight, we got to hear for the first time meet JJK a narrator for the story, and as a manga reader, that is such a vital addition for this arc to be great, so good on Mappa for finally getting a narrator for the story. This arc is going to be so cold, and next week is another peak episode, so look forward to a video on that. Let me know how you guys feel about the episode and Mechamaru's conclusion down below. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts going into this next arc, and if you enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription will be greatly appreciated. I plan to cover Shibuya for all the gas moments, so you don't want to miss any of that. Thank you guys for watching today's vid, and I'll catch you in my next one. Peace.